Alright, what's going on, guys? So if I am correct, and I might not be, this is the final lure in Z-Man's Micro Finesse collection that I have not used. I have used and reviewed all of the other ones. I have videos from those, and this should be the last one. That is, of course, until they release some new ones. But anyway, this is the Micro Goat. It is 1.75 inches. It's like a beaver tail frog imitation type thing. We're gonna get this thing out on a hook. We're gonna fish it. I have been very impressed with all of the other Z-Man lures that I have used. They have worked very, very well. So I am hopeful that the little Micro Goat works as well as those have. So let's give it a shot and let's see what happens. Alrighty, so here's a better look at the lure. It's the green pumpkin color, in case you were wondering. I know this design of a lure, the way that this lure looks, this like little beaver paddle tail thing, is pretty common, pretty popular with bass fishermen. I've actually never used this style lure before, and I'm not even sure what it exactly is supposed to imitate. I'm sure it's kind of like a frog imitation, but it's a very bad frog imitation if you're going for like realisticness, because that doesn't look like a frog. So it might be imitating some sort of a insect, like a beetle or something. I don't know. But yeah, we're gonna just cast this thing out on this lake. I'm gonna let it sink down to the bottom, and we're gonna try to like swim it back and pop it back, jig it back fairly slowly. The problem with this lake is that there are a lot of weeds, a lot of grasses, like most lakes here in South Florida, which makes this kind of fishing a little more difficult. I usually like to use lures that I can kind of swim in a little bit faster, just so it doesn't get caught up in the weeds and all the grasses. But we'll see what we can make happen with this one. Hopefully some largemouth peacocks, and maybe even a bluegill or two. Oh, there we go. First fish of the day. Little peacock. Let's take a look at this guy. Alrighty, so first fish on the little Micro Goat is a pretty small but really beautiful peacock bass. Really nice coloration on him. Some of the smaller ones like this have this really cool kind of marbled coloration on them. I don't think I've ever caught any big ones that look like this, but the small ones like that look really, really cool. All right, so we got one fish on the Micro Goat. Let's keep going, see what else we can get. Got him on the drop. Largemouth, I think. Let's get him in quick. There we go. All right, so fish number 2 is this fairly long, somewhat skinny largemouth. Hit the lure right on the drop. I didn't even have my hand on the reel when this guy hit, so it took me an extra second to set the hook and start reeling. But yeah, cool fish. That guy's back. Let's keep going, see what else we can get. There we go. Oh, that feels like a better one. This guy's actually pulling pretty well. It's a peacock, and the biggest fish of the day, even though it's still not that big. Alrighty, second largemouth of the day, biggest fish of the day. as far as bass go, it's still not big, but this is a respectable size one. He actually pulled pretty well. So I fished this same lake yesterday, and over in this spot here by the fountain, I made 6 casts, and on my first 6 casts, I caught 4 fish. And that was my first cast here, and we already got a fish. I really like fishing this lake, but this spot in particular, there's a lot of deep water, a lot of structure, really nice weed line here. We got some highly oxygenated water there because of the fountain, so I can usually do pretty well here. And on our first cast, we already got a fish. So hopefully we can catch a couple more here. Oh, there we go. Next cast, we got another fish, but this one is smaller. Alrighty, cast number 2 over here by the fountain, and we got fish number 2. So we were picking up here just like we finished off yesterday. This is a pretty small one, but hey, still counts. So 2 casts, we got 2 fish here. Let's keep going, see what else we can catch from this area. Oh, there we go. Get hit on the edge of this line here, and that's another pretty good one. Another pretty nice peacock. Alrighty, another peacock, 3rd one of the day. Let's find some easier water to drop this guy into. Looks like there's an opening over here, instead of dumping him in the middle of the weeds there. But yeah, I think he's smaller than our last peacock, but bigger than our first peacock. Anyway, action here has died down a little bit. It was about 15 minutes between bites, and honestly I could probably pick up a few more fish here if I stay longer, but I've had enough fun for the day. So let's wrap it up and let's review the lure. Alright guys, so that's going to do it. Let's talk about the little micro goat, the final lure in the Z-Man Micro Finesse collection that I tried out. And first, the positives, just like really all of the other little Z-Man Micro Finesse soft plastics, this lure is really good. So if we're going to talk about the positives, number 1, as always, the durability. It's made of that super soft but yet super stretchy and super durable material, and these things just don't break. A lot of other soft plastics, after 1 or 2 fish, you might have to replace the soft plastic, but with these things, they last forever. I've never actually had to replace one because they got torn up. So I don't know, you could probably go through a couple dozen fish on just one of these soft plastics, and it worked really well. Nice action. I was able to see when I was kind of bringing this thing in close to shore. Very buoyant. It kind of stood up here, and these little paddle tails here paddled very nicely, and they attracted some bites. So I think, like I said, we got 5 bites and caught 5 fish, 3 peacocks, 2 largemouths, which is a pretty good day. And now, as far as the negatives go, like with all the soft plastics, they're all very similar in terms of positives and negatives, in my opinion. I just think this is slightly too big to be a panfish lure, and it is somewhat advertised like that. If you look on the front here, you got a crappie, a bluegill, and a perch silhouette there, as well as a trout and a bass of some type. So they advertise it for panfish as well as, you know, trout and bass. And for panfish, I think this is just slightly too big. If I'm fishing for panfish, bluegill, other sunfish, yellow perch or whatnot, I would probably use a lure that's like 1.25, maybe 1.5 inches. At 1.75, I think it's just slightly too big. I think this lure is great though if you are either in a school of some like bigger bluegill that you know they're going to be bigger, or if you just want to scale down and fish for some smallmouth, largemouth bass, other bass species in a more finesse style presentation, which is what I like to do. You're going to very rarely, and by rarely I mean never, see me use like traditional bass lures for bass fishing. Like you're not going to see me use like a 6-inch worm or like a 4-inch swim bait to catch some largemouth and peacocks. But you will see me fish for bass with some of these smaller lures, and I think that's where this lure will work really well, just on a little creek or a small river where you just want to catch some smaller bass. But yeah, really nice lure, worked really well. Hope you guys liked it, and I will see you guys next time.